Bonjour, Anin. At this time, I'd like to introduce Bob Goulet. Bob is an Anishinaabe from Nipissing First Nation. He is second-degree member of the Three Fires Medewan Society and a committed advocate of the Anishinaabe-Atsuan Indigenous ways of knowing and being. Bob is a sought-after speaker, traditional teacher, facilitator, and master of ceremonies, providing valuable cultural context and traditional knowledge to diverse audiences across Canada. In 2015, Bob founded Nipissing Consulting Incorporated and specializes in Indigenous community engagement, communications, cultural advisory services, cultural competency training, public policy, and management consulting. An experienced senior executive and consultant, Bob has provided over 20 years of leadership and public service to industry, government, not-for-profit, and Indigenous organizations, including the Anishinaabe Nation, Assembly of First Nations, the Government of Ontario, Native Men's Residence, Humber College, the Indigenous Peoples Program for the Parliament of the World Religions, Juvenile Diabetes Workshop Foundation, and Ojibwe Culture Foundation. Bob's storytelling presentation will be titled, At the Beginning, The Fires of Creation. Bob will tell the story about the Creator and the fires of creation. This will include the creation of the universe, the concepts of spirit, energy, matter, Mother Earth, and the lowering of humankind. He will interweave traditional concepts, teachings, and storytelling to highlight the importance of spirit, spirituality, and our connection to Creator. Miigwech.
Abojo nindwe magana duk minwani kansa duk mjakwettendish nakas migizi and dodem Nipissing Ojibwe and Anishinaabe and Taganing Minwa Nipissing First Nation in Donje. Good day to everyone. Greetings to all of creation. Using that term Bojo, that beautiful traditional greeting that really calls upon that original name of very first Anishinaabe. And that is an important part of our creation story as well. So I offer that word to you and greeting to you by offering you Bojo. My name is Mjakwet in the spirit world, which refers to that place where the cloud world intersects that spirit realm. That's where my name comes from. It's a beautiful story that speaks to that sacred lodge that just hangs there in the sky, hangs in the sky world. That's where my name comes from, Mjakwet Nijnakaz. I'm of the Bald Eagle clan. And I'm from a little community called Taganing, or Garden Village in Nipissing First Nation. I offer you, though, that greeting because, and that introduction because our introductions are so important to our understanding and connection to each other, but not only connection to each other, but to the spirit world. When we introduce ourselves, it's not just about introducing ourselves to other people in the circle or other people who are listening and chatting with us, but it's about introducing ourselves to the spirit. It reawakens that name, the spirit of those names that we receive. We call Anishinaabe knows win, those Anishinaabe names that are given to us in the spirit realm. I want to acknowledge that drum, Young Creek, that offered us that song today. And I really pay a tribute to my first teachers that taught me around the drum. The drum was the first source of knowledge that I was fortunate enough to receive just as a young boy, growing up in Nipissing, my home community of Taganing, or Garden Village. And I was introduced by some of our teachers to that beautiful dewe gun, that beautiful drum, which is the heartbeat of our nation. It unites us. Long before we knew what being a Anishinaabe was, long before we knew about our own nationhood, we were sitting around that drum. We were sharing songs. Those songs we call intertribals. The songs those men and many of the women sing around that drum are those intertribal songs. Those songs that don't necessarily have specific names to them or specific words to them, but are shared amongst nations. So that sharing was an important part of my first learning. And just learning how to treat each other with respect through the drum, through sitting around as partners, as family, as singers around that drum. So I offer my great appreciation to those singers. I also want to pay tribute to that beautiful Gmiwan, that rain that's falling from the spirit realms in this way. And rain is one of the 5 types of water that reach us from the spirit realm and cleanse us, especially during this time, this Ziguan time, where the springtime, where our Mother Earth comes back to life. And it's that same water that flows through her veins, flows from the lakes, through the rivers, and brings us that life again. The other thing I'm going to acknowledge is this place that we're on, that we call Minising, which in our language means on the island, to be here at this island. And this is, we know as the Toronto Islands. We're on Ward's Island today, here in the city of Toronto. And that name, that Anishinaabe name, comes from, again, that spirit time. It comes from that creation story. And I'm going to do my best to tie in some of these stories that go back all the way to the beginning of time. And we call that connection to the spirit realm, that connection to creation, we call that Gishig Mikan, that cedar trail. And if we were to be here on the island at dusk, perhaps into the nighttime, when the spirit world is active, we're to create that sacred fire and burn that fire, and I'll make our offerings then to that ceremonial fire. If we were to take a handful of that green cedar and place it into that fire, the first thing we're going to see is those sparks that almost mimic the fireflies that we see in the fields. You'll see that sparks fly up into the sky world. The next thing you'll hear is the sound, that crackling, that beautiful crackling sound that actually mimics the sound of creation itself. The very first sound of creation sounds like that cedar burning in that fire. And the next thing we'll see is that beautiful smoke trail that we call that cedar trail that goes and connects this earth, connects that fire, connects our offerings to the sky world, to the star world, into the night sky, into the spirit realms, all the way to the spirit world and the Creator's realm. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the beginning of all things, the first fires of creation. And if we were to think of the story of creation, it goes back to the beginning, where there literally was nothing. There was nothingness, only emptiness, only darkness. Some say even coldness. That at the time there wasn't anything there except the Creator's realm. And the Creator's realm is said to be seen in the distance. The spirit realms can see the Creator's realm as a beautiful, shimmering, shining orb, a beautiful silver orb in the spirit realm. That's the dwelling place of the one we call Goulet, our great kind spirit. And it's the spirit that our Creator is aptly named because the spirit is kind to us. That spirit has shown us that kindness, the blessings of life, the blessings of creation. And that spirit is said to exist there alone. The Creator exists in the spirit realm alone. We don't have that understanding, that teaching of how the Creator came to be. You know, we just know that the Creator existed there alone. But very soon after, the Creator had the first thought of creation. And that's called that first fire of creation, where the Creator thought of all things that were to come. And that's where that beautiful teaching of kindness comes in. That the Creator thought of all things that would happen. Thought about creation, thought about the spirit realms, thought about these physical realms, that this beautiful earth that we have. Everything we need, all of this life that's around us on this island. The sky world, those flyers, those beautiful winged ones, thought of all those things. But in that first thought of Creator, the Creator thought of all of us, thought of our lives, what we needed, and all those gifts that we have today. And the first thought of Creator actually has a sound, and I'm going to use my shishig that's here. That beautiful sound of creation is that same sound we hear when we put that cedar into that sacred fire. We hear that sound of that shishig. We hear that sound of creation in our shakers. So oftentimes in our ceremony, it's about that connection to our Creator and that first fire of creation. What's also beautiful about that first fire of creation is the next fire, which talks about a beautiful time where what was created by the Creator was that duality or twinness that we know. And what I like to refer to as balance. That in that time, that after that first thought, the Creator thought how we need to have balance in life. And in that thought of balance, all of a sudden it's not just the darkness that's in the universe. It's not just the coldness in the universe. There's also the creation of light. There's the creation of warmth. The creation of those spirits that are the dual spirits of all of the things that we know in life. And also with that is the creation of also gender. The beautiful creation of our Mishom Gizis, the one we call the sun, our grandfather's son, was given a male spirit, was given and is the source of all those men's teachings. The balance to that is Naba Gizis Nokomis, our beautiful mother, the moon. She was given a female spirit and is the source of all those women's teachings. But what's beautiful about that first teaching of balance is it's not just about those extremes of creation or the extremes of those things we know as gender, but there's also a good balance of in between, that there's a spectrum of understanding. And we know in this day and age that there is a tremendous diversity and a complex understanding of gender as human beings. So in that time, there's not just the creation of those binary cisgenders, there's the creation of what we call, or what a lot of people identify as two-spirit. The people that can identify both with that male spirit and female spirit. And with that, they also have those gifts of being able to relate that closeness of our grandfather, the closeness of our grandmother, and being able to call upon those in those beautiful ways. In that first part of creation, there's, it's said that that first part of creation and the first thought of creation of the Creator began to expand in all directions. That first thought of creation created that balance, but also created the 7 levels of the universe, or sorry, the 8 levels of the universe that we understand as Anishinaabe. And it also created the 4 directions as we know them, to create that all for us to be able to understand and to be able to be accepting of those teachings, to be accepting of our understanding and closeness to the Spirit. And that's very akin to the modern understandings of the creation of the universe. That the Creator in that first thought began that creative energy. Those who are creators, the artists, filmmakers, producers, people that do that work, are the embodiment of that creative energy that started at the beginning with our Creator's first thought. And again, it's akin to the contemporary understandings of the creation of the universe, that Big Bang theory. That is a part of our story as Anishinaabe as well. The next part of creation was the creation of the spirit realm itself, what we call the spirit world. And the spirit world is a very beautiful place because that is the home of all spirit. It's the source of all spirit, including ourselves. Before we are put onto this earth, before we're born into physical form, we are spirit. We are indeed spirit beings, and we come from the spirit world. And then we're put on this earth, we walk this life, we walk this path, hopefully in a good way. And then when we're done living that life out, we are brought back to the spirit world. I'm comforted knowing that my parents, my grandparents, my family, those ones that have passed on, are there in the spirit world. And it's said they're looking at us from that western direction, from that spirit realm. The next realm of creation that was part of the creation story is a beautiful realm that we as Midewiwin people call the Midewiwin realm, the home of the Midewiwin spirit that we call Mide Manido. And the Midewiwin way of life, the Midewiwin society, is one of the original traditional societies of indigenous people across North America. We are the keepers and the traditional society of the Anishinaabe way of life. A lot of those Midewiwin lodges across our territories carry those teachings, carry those stories, carry those understandings, our songs, our history. The Midewiwin Lodge was the source of our governance, whether it be our clan system or our confederacy governments. All of that existed in that beautiful place called the Midewiwin realm. The one that exists there, the one spirit that exists there, is the Midewiwin spirit. And that spirit is, as I refer to, as the caretaker spirit. The one when I was offered that tobacco this morning to do this talk, it's the one that helps me in those petitions to the spirit world. It's the Midewiwin spirit that helps me in reaching back to the spirit world. And it's really a beautiful gift that was given to Anishinaabe at the time of creation, and as part of the lowering of that first Anishinaabe onto this place. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. The next realm of creation is indeed that star realm, where we look in the night sky and we see those star beings. They're the source of an incredible set of knowledge, an incredible set of star knowledge that goes back again to creation. And unfortunately, those are one of those sets of teachings that very few hold on to this day. That we had a lot of knowledge that comes from the placement of those ones, those constellations that are there, are part of our story, are part of our understanding of these teachings. But what's also beautiful about the star realm is it is the beginning of physicality. It's the beginning of matter. So in the star realm, we have what are called the planets. Those are those siblings, as we understand as Anishinaabe. Those 8 siblings that is said to give a piece of themselves, of their own bodies, to create this physical earth. So up into this part of our creation story, there was only spirit. There was only energy. But with the star realm, there's the beginning of matter. There's the beginning of physicality. And that's the creation of our earth as well. The next beautiful part of creation is where that water comes from. You know, we started our morning off, we started our day off with that gmiwan, that blessing of water. Now our beautiful grandfather is joining us today. And, you know, it reminds us of that realm that's said to be 3 levels above us, and that is that source of all water, that source of all of that spirit water. And those are teachings that are kept by Anishinaabe Kwewag, by Anishinaabe women, First Nations women. It's those teachings that tell us that the source of that water in that realm is a beautiful, shimmering, shining lake. And from that lake, it gives us life. And we're told that on this earth, as physical beings, we need that water to survive. We all life needs that in order to continue, in order to survive this physical earth. And it's said that that beautiful, shimmering, shining lake in the spirit world has a river that comes to us in this physical earth. And as long as that water is moving, it is able to sustain life. And that's a very special teaching, and it's not mine to give. That belongs to Anishinaabe Kwewag to give. But they take that gift and that knowledge very seriously when it comes to the protection of water, when it comes to speaking for that water, leading our water ceremonies. It's Anishinaabe Kwewag that really embody the commitment to looking after our earth, looking after that precious nibe. And we honor that every time that we see those water walks that are happening in this springtime. We see those women that are carrying that water in that beautiful copper vessel and walking around those bodies of water, reminding us that we have a responsibility, a commitment to look after that water. We all have a responsibility. The next beautiful realm of creation comes from what we see now. And I've got a beautiful north-facing look at the sky here. And that's that sky realm. And that sky realm was instrumental in the fire of creation that scattered those seeds across our Mother Earth. Before all things began to live on this earth, you know, it's said that those winged ones, those birds, all the ones we hear singing, all those littlest of birds, were asked to take some of those seeds provided by our Creator and scatter those seeds across the earth. And it was done from that sky world, done from that cloud world. And that is the realm of the highest flyers of animal life. My clan, the Migizi, the bald eagle, the clan of the Gnu, or the golden eagle, are those ones that fly the highest. And that's why our eagle fans, our eagle whistles, and that the blessings of Migizi and Gnu are so important to our culture, because through that sky world they have a unique connection and closeness to the spirit. So we acknowledge that beautiful sky world. And of course, the next realm of creation is this beautiful earth that we have here. And it's this earth that was given a beautiful, nurturing spirit. And the name of that spirit is Shkakamikwe, our mother, the earth. She has a female spirit, that beautiful life-giving spirit. She gives us life. Without the earth, without the water she carries, without the seeds of creation, without that creative energy, without the spirit, life cannot sustain. Life cannot exist. Our Mother Earth provides us everything we need to survive. Provides us these food plants. You know, and even if we look in the bush close by here, there are food plants that we can exist on. This place, Munising, is the home of that beautiful wild rice, an important source of that carbohydrate for Anishinaabe. It's also the source of that cattail. That is also one of those sources of carbohydrates that we eat. We eat the root of that cattail that actually can be cooked up and made into a delicious traditional food. There's those berries that are sustaining us, that source of simple sugar for Anishinaabe. Of course, the maple tree, the natig, is a beautiful source of that maple syrup, that simple sugar that we have as well. And of course, the meat that comes from the animals, the fish, all of those that give themselves are sustained from our Mother Earth. So we don't need anything else in life. So sometimes we look at contemporary society, we look in downtown Toronto, and we see all the amenities of urban living. You know, the only thing we need is what our mother provides us, is what our spirit provides us. And that comes from our Mother Earth. And we're asked to look after that. That's part of our creation story too. There's also one more realm of creation that's part of that fire of creation, and that's the realm underneath this earth, the home of those crawlers, the home of that warmth. It says that our Mother Earth has a warming part of herself. The source of that heat is our grandfather. Our grandfather has that seed which is deep in Mother Earth. That's a part of our story. So that's that realm underneath. So those are those levels of the universe that we understand as Anishinaabe. The next fire of creation is the lowering of humankind. It's said that human beings, very first Anishinaabe, all of those first 4 ones, were the last to be lowered from the spirit realm. And what's beautiful about those ones is they weren't derived from seeds. They weren't derived in that way. They were lowered directly from the Creator's hands. The Creator has once cradled us in the hands, in his or her, however you understand the Creator, in the Creator's hands. We sat in the Creator's lap at one point. Those ones, those first 4 ones, are called the standing ones. That yellow standing one, the red standing one, the black standing one, and the white standing one. Those are the first 4 human beings that were lowered directly from the Spirit, directly from the Creator. The one I'm going to speak to is Miskogobwid, the red standing one. It's said that those standing ones are all brothers of humankind, that they're all siblings of humankind. We're all related. And those are the ancestors of all modern day human beings. And later on in the story, that one was given a name, and I'm going to share a little bit about that a bit later. The one we call the red standing one is said to have such a beautiful relationship with the Creator. It's such a special, almost emotional relationship, almost like the relationship we had when we were children, when we were babies, that we had with the ones that cared for us. Perhaps our parents, perhaps our grandparents. It's a beautiful, beautiful relationship. But so much that when it came time that the Creator wanted to lower us to this earth, to ask us to walk, to take those first steps, to go out and follow those original instructions that were given to us, that we call Menado Nakanagewan. The Spirit put that red standing one on this earth. But that red standing one just couldn't bear to be away from the Creator. That Miskogobwid loved the Creator so much that immediately couldn't even take one step, turned around, faced the Creator, and asked to be lifted up. The arms went up in the air, almost like our children ask to lift us up. And the Creator, it said, took pity on Miskogobwid, took pity on that first one, and brought him back to the spirit realm, brought that first one back. The next time the Creator tried to give reassurance to Miskogobwid, placed that one on this earth again. And it said that that one took some baby steps, just like our children take those first baby steps. But again, Miskogobwid loved the Spirit so much, turned around, faced the Spirit again, and this time, really started to cry, started to wail. Those tears came. And the Creator just, really felt sorry, again, felt that pity, and brought that spirit one back up to the Creator's realm once again. The third time it happened, it said that that little one took a few steps, turned back around, and leapt into the Creator's lap. just wanted to come back and couldn't leave the Creator's side. But it said it was the fourth time that one came back to the spirit world, where the Creator said, I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you a gift, that you're my child. I'm going to provide you what you need to connect with me. And actually the Creator gave two gifts. One of them was the Medewan spirit, that one I called earlier, the Mede Manedo, that Mede Shkabewas, that one specifically to help us look after ourselves, to help us in our petitions to the Spirit. The other most beautiful gift was that beautiful green plant that we know as Menedo Asema, that spirit tobacco. It's that beautiful green plant that was a part of our creation story from the beginning. It said each time that the Creator placed that one onto the earth, it was that green plant that was there all along to cushion that fall from the spirit realm, to make that beautiful descent onto this physical earth. And it said that spirit one walked on that tobacco. That asema was given to us specifically to ask things of the Spirit, to make sure we have our connection to Gijemenido, our connection back to Mede Manedo, our connection to the Spirit. That's why it's so important that we start our gatherings, we start those offerings with tobacco. Anytime we're looking for knowledge, anytime those things are asked of our elders, our knowledge holders, that it begins with tobacco. Because it honors that time when we were asked to use that tobacco to request things, to ask things of the Spirit. The other thing I'll say about tobacco is, make use of that for your own purpose as well. If you are seeking that healing, you're seeking that wellness, perhaps you're struggling with those diseases, those things that ail our bodies. Perhaps you're struggling with mental wellness. Perhaps you're struggling with addictions. All of those things that really, make us unwell. That trauma that so much of us carry from residential school, from the 60s scoop, missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, those abuses, that lateral violence that's happening in our communities. Use that tobacco to help you with that strength. That tobacco is not only just for prayer and just for ceremony, for offering, that is also medicine. It will help you. Ask things of the Spirit when you need that. That's so important. Miskogobwed then began to walk this earth. And one of the first things Miskogobwed was asked to do, again, the relationship between that first one and the Creator was so close. They had such a close relationship that the Creator asked Miskogobwed to go out and walk every part of the earth and give those names to all of those parts of creation. Name all of these plants, these grasses, these shrubs. Name all of these trees, these flying, the flying bugs, the crawling bugs, the crawlers, the four-leggeds, the swimmers, the flyers, to name all of creation. And it's said that Miskogobwed did that dutifully, went throughout creation as best as that one could. But like young ones, when we ask them to go and do something, and when our children, we ask them to give them a task, sometimes it's not quite complete. Sometimes it's not quite done to what is required. So it's said that the Creator, that one came back to the Creator, and the Creator sent that one out again. This time, go and take a look under all of those rocks that you see there. Did you lift up all of those rocks and name all those ones under those rocks? Under those trees, perhaps hiding in the bush, and gave a name to all of those ones. And again, came back to the Spirit, came back to the Creator, and the Creator sent this one out once again. And did you name all of those things in the waters? Name all of those swimmers, those fish, that fish life, the turtles, all of those things. So that Miskogobwed went out and named all of those things. The fourth time, the Creator sent that one out to name the different places around the earth. And this time, by that time, the Miskogobwed had walked the earth three different times. So the Miskogobwed knew the path, knew this earth, knew it just like our ancestors knew it. Knew it, just like, as they say, the back of their hand. So that spirit, Miskogabed, went to name all these places. And there's a few places that are special to me in my life that I've really taken some time to learn about that story. And where I'm from, a place called Nibissing. We also have a place called Tigoning, Garden Village. That Nibissing, as we call it, is the diminutive form of the word Nibbe. Nibbe is the Anishinaabe word for water. Nibissing is the small form of that water. So when you think of Lake Nipissing, it is the smaller of the many much larger Great Lakes. That was named by the Spirit. It was named by that first one. This place right here in Toronto was given a name by the Spirit, given Anishinaabe Nosewin. And this place that we're on, where we're sitting, wasn't called Ward's Island. This was a very special place called Minising, again, at the islands. And it was a place of healing for many Michasagig Anishinaabe, the Anishinaabe indigenous people that are of this territory. The Michasagi referring to the people of those river mouths that are here. The Credit River, the Humber River, the Don River, the Rouge River, the Trent River, the Otonabee River. All of those rivers are named by the Anishinaabe people. The Michasagi recognized this place as a very special place. This is where they came to seek that healing when they needed it. It's said that later on in the story that many midwives brought the women here to give birth in this very special place. And of course, this was the landing place for a lot of the early trade with those colonizers, with people that established those settlements here. So this became an important place because of the presence of that whitefish that's plentiful, or that was plentiful in the lake at one time, because of the wild rice, because of the cattail. All of those things were here in this place called Minising. And it was that Miskogabed that named this place. So it was so special. After Miskogabed named everything in creation, all that work was done. Then Miskogabed went back to the Spirit and asked, I've done this work, but what am I going to be called? That one was called Miskogabed, the red standing one. It's more of a description. Later, that one was also called Anishinaabe. Anishinaabe literally means the one that was lowered to this place. In male form, as it's said. That one was said to be a man. It was said to have that male spirit. Gijeminido was so kind. Again, that kindness was there. Gave that first naming ceremony to the very first Anishinaabe. And turned to the east, that eastern door, Wabanung, and gave that name Wenabojo. Turned to the south, that Jaunung, that beautiful south doorway. Acknowledged the spirits there and repeated that name, Wenabojo. Turned to the western doorway, Gabinung, and gave that name to all those ones that sit in that doorway, Wenabojo. And then turned to the north, Giwedanung, giving that name, that very first name of that red standing one, that one saying Wenabojo. When that one was given that name, that was what that very first Anishinaabe would be known as from now on. That beautiful name, Wenabojo. So when I greeted you at the beginning of this talk, when we start our oratories, when we give our thanksgiving or our namewin, our prayers, when we do our ceremonies, we always start our greetings with Wenabojo. Or in this day and age, we shorten that and we say Bojo. Bojo nindwe maganaduk. Bojo ni kanasiduk. Greetings to all of creation. Greetings to all my relatives. So when you use that term Bojo and you offer it to someone, and it's more of a formal greeting, you give somebody a handshake or you give somebody a hug, or if you're sitting in the lodge and it's your turn to speak and you start with that word, and then you give your introduction to the Spirit, you're acknowledging that very first human being, that very first Anishinaabe. So that is something that I encourage people to use in their greetings, is, use that term bonjour. A lot of people think we're trying to speak French when we use bonjour, but it's very different from bonjour. It's the word bonjour. So that's a little bit about that, those first fires of creation and the lowering of our Misko Gobwid and the lowering of that very first Anishinaabe. There's a reason why we do this. There's a reason why we need to remember these things, because it is our source of connection to the Spirit. It's our connection to the knowledge, to the teachings that were given to us, the history that was given to us. And because of that trauma that we've endured, because of that colonization, a lot of Anishinaabe have lost this. There's some people that are growing up in this day and age that don't know what it means to be Anishinaabe. And now we're starting to see the importance of that. Our prophecies talked about this time. The very first prophecy that was given Anishinaabe spoke about how there would be the coming of that light-skinned race. Our people knew that this would happen. Our people knew that non-Indigenous people would be coming to what we now call Turtle Island or North America. And it's said that that first one, the first ones we encountered, it's said that they would be wearing the face of brotherhood, that we would see that in their demeanor, that they would come with respect, and they would offer their hand out in respect. But later on, those prophecies spoke of a time where we're starting to see the reality of what some of those folks brought to this place. Later on, one of those prophecies spoke of how we are going to see, Anishinaabe are going to see, that wasn't the face of brotherhood, but that was actually a mask. And when that mask came off, when that mask in the face was revealed, it said it revealed a face of destruction. You can actually see that destructive nature in that face. It also, in those prophecies, our people were spoken of a time where this life, our way of life that we call Anishinaabe Odswin, our way of knowing, our way of being as Anishinaabe people, would be under threat, that we would need to protect these things. And it was the very first ones that it said they actually came from the east coast of North America. Those first Anishinaabe lived out in the Great Salt Sea in the east. It was the prophecy that came from there that they recognized that there would be a threat to our way of life, that they were the first ones to pick up our bundles, and make sure that those bundles were there for our children, for our grandchildren, 7 generations or more from here. And it was those first ones, those first Midewan Anishinaabe. Midewan, again, is that, the root word of Midewan is the heart, Ode. Midewan literally means the way of our heart. And it's those ones that picked up our bundles and began to move east. And it's said that they followed a migration, that initial migration story. And there was 7 stopping points of that migration story. But, it was those ones that tried to protect our way of life. And later the prophecies spoke of a time when we would be persecuted for our beliefs, that we would be hunted in a way like animals are hunted, perhaps for our scalps, for, to end our lives, to really take our lives through genocide and those sorts of things. The later chapter of our history speaks of a time when these bundles would be hidden away and we would lose track of those. That our people that were to protect this would forget their ways themselves. But I want to speak about a beautiful prophecy that is about the 7th fire, and that's the time we're in now. This is the time of the 7th fire. And there is going to be a time, it said, that we are going to be asked for this knowledge again. We're going to be asked for these teachings. We're going to be asked for that Anishinaabe way of life. And it's through Anishinaabe Odsawin that we are going to contribute something to this society. that same race of people, the light-skinned race, will ask us once again for our knowledge, will ask us to help, solve some of the problems of humankind. And that could be in relation to peace and friendship. It could be in relation to our Mother Earth, climate change, environmental concerns, cumulative effects, all of those things. But it's said that it's going to be our grandchildren that are going to support that. That respect will be there. That tobacco will be there again to ask our grandchildren for that knowledge. And that's really why I do this work is, it's not about a paycheck. It's not about any of those things. It's about my belief that we are in the seventh fire. And it's going to be my children and grandchildren that will hopefully get us to a point where we are sharing our knowledge again. There is a place for Anishinaabe Odswin. There's a place for Anishinaabe knowledge and our teachings in this way of life. It's been an incredibly difficult time when this is being filmed and when you're going to hear it. Because over the last week we've seen incredible violence related to the race of people. We've seen the shootings in Buffalo. Just a few days ago, we've seen those shootings at another school, senseless killings in the United States. We've seen what's happening in the Ukraine with the invasion and the war between Russia and the Ukraine. That can lead to some significant repercussions for the rest of society. That's where I really see that there's a role for us as Anishinaabe. There's a role for Ongwe-Honwe. There's a role for Métis, for Inuit, for all our peoples, Mi'kmaq people, no matter what your nation, Innu. There's so much knowledge that comes from Indigenous peoples that can contribute to the wellness of society, that can contribute to peace and friendship, the restoration of relationships, our connection to the earth, protection of our food sovereignty, incredible issue. I was just on social media the other day seeing some posts of some of those prices in the far north where you can't even get bacon and eggs and bread without having to shell out $20, $30, $40. Food sovereignty when you're talking about accessing formula for babies across the world and in the United States. Obviously we want to ensure that breastfeeding is our primary means of feeding our young ones. But there's some people that need that technology through that formula, and that food sovereignty isn't there for them. So there's so much that our people can really offer in this way of life, including using our values. That's one of the things I really want to speak of is those 7 grandfather teachings. Those teachings that are so integral to who we are, that we can share with the world. That first teaching, that is that teaching we call Zalgidwin, that love. Love is the first teaching we receive as Anishinaabe people. The first teaching we receive. Because when we're born, even before we have any personalities, even before we have any kind of awareness of who we are loved. We're born of the act of love. We're born of loving, unconditional love from our parents. That's such a beautiful thing. The companion to love is that respect, which for us as Anishinaabe is said to be given unconditionally, which again is different from contemporary understandings where we're taught that, in this day and age, that respect needs to be earned. We puff out our chest and say, you don't respect me, I don't respect you. For us as Anishinaabe, respect is unconditional. And we'll go out of my way to, even in the face of blatant disrespect, to offer that respect. When it comes to our intimate partner relationships, to our families, to our spouses, the ones we walk with, our partners. It's said that the teachings of love and respect flow back and forth between those two. That with love comes respect, and with respect comes that love. The next of those teachings is that beautiful teaching of truth. And that raises this being in the era of truth and reconciliation. And I need to really implore those who are allies, those who are people that work with First Nations, Métis and Inuit, is to not only begin to understand truth, but begin to accept truth from Indigenous perspective. Truth, again, comes from that root word ode, our word for heart. And Debwewin literally means to understand things from the heart. So in order to begin to accept allyship and reconciliation, we need to accept truth in our heart with our spirit. The next of those grandfather teachings is the teaching of humility. And humility is a beautiful teaching because it relates to our earth. Humility for us as Anishinaabe literally means to know our place, in creation. And we were given two very special gifts. Humankind, Anishinaabe, Wenabo was given two very important gifts that wasn't given to any other being. We were lowered from the hands of the Creator with two very special gifts. The gift of intellect, the gift of reason, and the gift of free will. No other creature on earth has those gifts like human beings do, like Anishinaabe has. And we were given those gifts specifically to look after our Mother Earth, to look after the water, to speak for those things that can't speak for themselves. And that's a beautiful gift of humility. We weren't given those gifts to be the primary users and exploiters of resources and to leave Mother Earth in a waste. It was specifically to be the stewards of the land and the water. This place, this island, Toronto Island, the urban environment, we need to start thinking about getting back to the principles of stewardship. All of us need to do that, not only Indigenous people, not only Anishinaabe, but all nations. The next of those beautiful teachings is the teaching of honesty, which is an internal facing teaching. Only you can assess what honesty means. It's only what you can relate, what your spirit can understand when you talk about truth, when you talk about humility. It's honesty that will relate back to how you are going to use those teachings. That's that gift for you. Then the colleague or the counterpart to honesty is that bravery, that external facing of values, that external facing gift. How are you going to use that humility? How are you going to commit to looking after the land, the water? How are you going to commit to allyship and reconciliation? That requires that bravery. And the last of those teachings is actually the hardest one, and it takes the longest to receive, because you need to live a whole life of all of those 6 other of those grandfather teachings to receive that gift of wisdom. And the one thing I'm going to share when it comes to the gift of wisdom is that it comes from our elders. It comes from our knowledge holders. It comes from their experiences and how they walked this earth. All those things they received. We need to involve our elders in everything we do. We need to obtain and share that knowledge and receive that knowledge in a good way from our knowledge keepers and our knowledge holders. We need to work with that tobacco to connect with our elders and knowledge holders in that good way. And with that comes that balance. Again, back to creation and back to that kindness of our spirit. If we walk our lives using all of those teachings, we walk all of our lives knowing that we were given these gifts to help us live this good life that we call Minobimotsuwin, to live a good life. It's actually quite a simple thing. It's a simple thing to have peace within yourself, to have your connection to your spirituality, to know yourself as a spirit being and be connected to Mede Manado, connected to Menedoag, connected to Gije Menedo. It will help us in this life, and it will lead us on that path of Minobimotsuwin. And I do want to share and really offer that thanks, Miigwetcha Wendam, to all of our elders and knowledge holders. Those ones that keep this, the ones that are part of the wisdom weavers that are part of this series. Offer them your thanks. Show your appreciation, and show them that love. Show them that respect. So that's all I have to offer today, and I want to thank you for asking me to be a part of this, and I hope a little bit of this is taken in a good way, and I offer that in a humble way, in a kind way. Miigwech kina.